Good evening and welcome to Chasing the Facts. I'm Sam Chase, your host, and with us this evening is Doreen Deshler, who is a candidate for the position, one of two positions for the Chelmsford Planning Board. And before we get into the conversation with Doreen, a couple of reminders. First of all, we do have the town election, which is April 4th, and that is a week from yesterday. So it's Tuesday, all right? And voting is at the normal precinct locations, and if you have a question as to which precinct you're located in or where that precinct votes, I recommend that you get up on the town website, go into the town clerk's page, and that information is there. If you would rather just place a phone call to the town clerk's office, you can do that, and I'm sure they will be happy to furnish that information. This particular election cycle, the planning board, there are two open seats in the planning board. One of the present board members has chosen not to run for re-election. That is an open seat. And we have an incumbent running for re-election for his fourth term, okay? So we have three people running for two spots. And Doreen is actually the last person to be interviewed in my series of candidates, because we wanted to get every single candidate for contested races interviewed, and I think we succeeded. So thank you. So thank you very much for agreeing to come on, and we did get everybody. So, Doreen, what we usually do, I say we usually do, we always do actually, with folks who are appearing for the first time on the show. We ask you to give us a little bit of biographical information, anything you want to say about yourself with regard to the campaign or just in general. So go ahead, and we'll turn it over to you, and then we'll get into the discussion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here, Sam.
You're welcome.
My name is Doreen Deshler, like you said. I am new to the political arena in Chelmsford, but I'm not new to the town of Chelmsford. I'm running on a common sense platform. My political experience is based on a traditional upbringing and an understanding of what we as citizens are supposed to do. I have lived in Chelmsford since 1989. Two of my children have graduated from Neshoba Valley Technical High School, and two have graduated from Chelmsford High. I've been involved in the community early on. I'm volunteering for the Chelmsford Little League and Chelmsford Pop Warner. I decided to run when I saw four-story complexes and proposals for distribution centers / warehouses near residential neighborhoods in my town. I believe in following the law and in protecting our family neighborhoods and open spaces. The planning board strives to guide land last, but use management that preserves the character and integrity of the town. This is the planning board mission statement. This is the planning board mission statement, of which I promise to keep. For those of you who do not wish to see Chelmsford become a metropolis, or the next Somerville or Lowell, or closer still, the next Burlington or Borica, I'm your planning board member. I will stand up for you, the homeowner, not the developers whose only interest is in how much money they can make. They don't care if they ruin your neighborhood or devalue your property. The only concern is how many units they can squeeze into the space. The more units, the more money. The town belongs to you, the people, and I will always remember this. I promise to keep Chelmsford, Chelmsford.
Okay. Very good. Well, of course, the first question out of the gate that I ask every candidate is, why are you running? But I think you've largely answered that in your opening statement. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that? And let me, before you answer, you said that you're a political neophyte. You haven't done anything like this before.
Never, no.
Okay, so what that tells me, in listening to your opening statement, what that tells me is that you're pretty passionate about wanting to be on the planning board.
Yes, I am.
So perhaps you can amplify that just a little bit for us.
I'm a fresh voice for you. I mean, I became passionate when I saw things going up in Chelmsford that just didn't go with the town. I mean, it didn't go with the character of the town. I mean, when you look at some of these condo complexes or apartment complexes, whatever they are, when you drive through and you see the single-family home over here and then this big, it's like, it just doesn't jive. It doesn't go with it. An instant that I saw that where I saw that they did actually stay with the character of the planters. If you go by the Chelmsford Commons or the mobile home park,
Yes.
there is that big complex that doesn't go, but then there are the smaller ones that go perfectly with it. I mean, why didn't they just stick with those smaller ones? Those looked great.
Yeah.
You know, they go right along with what was over there to begin with. Now, that's fine. And places like the Williamsburg and Scotty Hollow and places like that.
Williamsburg is a pretty extensive development.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
a
The
lot
only
of
thing I
units.
don't like about Williamsburg is the entrance, because you have to cross the railroad track to get to it. Now, in a
Well, I'll
case
tell you
of,
what I don't like about it. Every time I go over there, I get lost.
it is a big development.
I think Williamsburg was very well laid out.
Yes.
And the units are very nice.
They're
and
beautiful.
Obviously, we know folks that live there, but
Yeah.
every time I go there, I have to have Google because I get lost. You know, it's
Yeah,
pretty
it is
confusing.
pretty big, but the problem is
Yeah.
the entrance. If
Yeah.
there's a fire or an emergency, someone needs the ambulance, and the train's going by,
Yeah, and the roads are narrow, and
Yeah.
people park
right.
on the streets.
Right, that's my only complaint about Williamsburg is the entrance. But the actual buildings and the way they're made and the way they're set back, I mean, it's beautiful. It's
Mm-hmm.
no problem, and it fits with the town. You know, in Scotty Hollow, same thing.
So was there a particular project that really started to get your hackles up?
Turnpike Road, if you go down there, those big
That's-
condo complexes there.
That's very close to where I live in the
Very
neighborhood.
close to where I live,
Yeah,
too.
so-
Yeah, those, and like I said, the ones across from the Commons, the trailer park, not the small ones, but those big ones.
Yeah.
And then there's, I don't know if is it on Acton Road or is it on Littleton Road? There's a 4-story complex there that's got it's multiple colored. It's like,
That's Littleton Road.
is
Yeah.
it, what, why?
That would look so much better
With one color.
with one color, and if they hadn't done a flat roof, if they had done a pitched roof, I think it would look better.
Yeah, it just sticks out. You look at it and you're like, oh, that sticks out like a sore thumb. It just doesn't
And it is
go.
multicolored, so it kind of makes you wonder why they do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have really, I would say, based on what you just said, within the last maybe 10 or 12 years, you know, you've started to notice,
Right.
you know, this type of development, which
Right.
we really haven't had. Some of these are affordable housing units, okay? So there's different kinds of development. So having said that, I think we understand, you know, what has driven you
Right.
to seek office. So now, let's say we have the election on Tuesday. So now you're elected. Now you're on the board.
Right.
Okay? So how do you see yourself functioning on that board versus the current board membership?
Well, number one would be that I would make sure that all the residents, especially the abutters, know what's being planned into their neighborhood before we actually get to the planning of doing, you know what I mean? I find that, what I'm finding is lately, residents aren't given substantial time to know what's going on in their neighborhood. They're not being told in a timely manner as to what's happening.
Are you talking about like an outreach, or are you talking about the public hearing process?
Public hearing
Okay.
process, the letters that should be going out to residents telling them this is being planned in your neighborhood. You know, you come to the meeting and express your concerns or your thoughts on it or whatever. And yeah, that should be going out to those, but I think we should be reaching out to all the residents, too. We should be able to, you know, somehow reach all the residents of Chelmsford and say, look, if this is being proposed for your town, what do you think about it? Because this is the people's town. This town belongs to the people. It belongs to the residents of Chelmsford. And so they should have a say as to what happens in this town.
Well, of course, a little bit of a disclosure here. I did attend the candidates debate last night that the Republican Town Committee sponsored, and that's where I got a chance to meet you, which was great. You know, put a face to the person I was going to talk to the following day, so that was wonderful. But I'll repeat something that the moderator at that meeting said at the beginning of the meeting. He said what you just said. He wanted to remind folks that this is the residents' town, and if you open up the if you open up the Finance Committee warrant book, in the back, there's like an organization chart that tells you, that, you know, it lists all the town offices and who reports to whom and all that. At the very top of that chart, the executive office, the highest executive office in town is the select board. So they're at the top of the chart, but they're not at the very top of the chart. If
Right.
you look at that org chart, who's above the select board?
Town manager.
The town. No, the
Oh,
town.
the town, okay.
It says residents. Okay, so the select board reports to the residents. They're directly elected. The town manager reports to the select board, and so on and so forth. The school committee is a separate department. They're listed. But
Right.
the point is that it is the residents of the town that are on top
Exactly.
of that organizational chart.
Exactly, and they haven't been treated like that.
And a lot of folks don't. I mean, I think if they thought about it, they would realize, yes, well, of course that's true, but I think most people don't really think about it. So it's good to remind folks of that every so often. And I will use that as a pitch to say, so having said all that, you said it, I said it, please make sure you get out and vote on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
You know, the turnouts in the last 4 or 5 elections are abysmal.
Yeah, they're horrible.
15, 20 years ago, we could count on 20, 21, 22% coming out and elected, which is still bad, okay? But recently, it's more like 10, 11, and 12.
Yep.
So we really need folks to pay attention, get out there and vote, and I didn't mean to take that time away from you.
No, but you're right. We
okay?
need people to.
Yes.
The local elections are your most important election.
I
It's the one that affects you the most.
That is correct. That is correct. And you can actually pick up the phone. You can call your selectmen. You can call your planning board members. You can call your school committee. You can talk to the town manager. You're right. You know, this is, as they say, this is where the services are delivered. This is where the
Yes.
rubber hits the road.
Yes.
Very important. Very important. So I think you've articulated very well how you feel the outreach should be done. Okay. So for any project coming up, you would advocate the planning board actually doing a mailing or somehow communicating with residents,
I
maybe?
believe that they're supposed to do a mailing to the abutters. They're supposed
Well,
to.
when there's a public hearing, yes, by law, they have to notify the abutters and the near abutters, okay? And that has to go out. Now, you're on the planning board, so now we've got we're doing a project, and it's a public hearing. So you indicated a minute ago that you thought that process could be improved upon. So,
Yes.
okay, so give us your thoughts on how you think that should go.
Well, like I said, making sure the letters get out. But I would also, I would go to the neighborhood, actually, and look at the neighborhood, look at where this proposal is supposed to be. I would knock on doors. Hello, do you know what's being proposed in your neighborhood? Do you know this is happening? I would knock on doors. I'm a door knocker. Just to make sure that they got the letter,
Well,
that
then-
they know
then
what's happening.
That's good, because that's what a good politician does. You know, they do outreach and they knock on the doors, and the people who do that, they're the ones who tend to get elected. So, yeah. So you would do that outreach. So you've had a bit of a time now to take a look at how the planning board operates. You know, you've obviously watched and participated in some of the meetings. I think you indicated the other night that you were very knowledgeable about this most recent project that was proposed on River Neck,
Yes,
the
River Neck Road.
distribution center. So what kind of marks would you give the planning board over the last 3 or 4 years for the way they've handled these types of projects?
Okay, prior to the last few years, the planning board actually did a good job in keeping the character of the town, because we stayed the quaint, small town, feel town. But, as you say, as in the past 5, 10 years, all these projects are they're going up, and they're going up, and they're going up so fast. You turn around, and the next thing you know, how'd that get there? When did that come? You drive down the road and there's another new building, there's another new building. It's just happening too fast. The town can't support it. We don't have the sewage, we don't have the water. Now you're gonna think also about the burden that it puts on your schools, the burden it puts on your police, the burden it puts on your fire. You gotta think about these things. What kind of, effect is it having on the town? It's not like all guns and roses when you put something up. Oh yeah, we're going to get the taxes from this. We're going to get the. it's not all about the taxes, because that doesn't always work out right either. Yeah, you get the taxes, but now you got to pay more for this, you got to pay more for that. So it's not really helping. And as far as affordable housing goes, I have a beef with them on that, because I've always been, well, always been kind of low income. I'm not rich, I'll admit, I'm been on the low income scale of things. And whenever they say, oh, we're doing affordable housing, I would say, oh, cool, maybe I can get in. You know what? I never qualified for affordable housing. I never made enough money to afford affordable housing. So who's the affordable housing for? What I see the town really needing right now, if anything at all in development, would be senior housing. We need more senior housing in the town. We don't have that much senior housing. But senior housing is another problem. They put seniors in these high rises. Seniors in a high rise, in case of a fire, you're not supposed to use an elevator, you're supposed to walk down the stairs. Now you got seniors, I mean, even me, I mean, I'm seniors, I'm 66, and I have some troubles with stairs. I mean, I could not walk a 5-story thing. There's no way. I mean, maybe down, but going up a 5-story, and forget it. If the elevator ever broke and I had to walk 5 stories to get to my apartment, I'd be out of breath. I'd be huffing and puffing and crawling up. The last 3 flights, I'd be crawling. That's not what senior housing should be. We should take a page out of Drakett's book. Drakett's got these great senior housing complexes. And we should look at their plan and maybe, you know, see how they did that.
That's unfortunately, and I think if you do get elected to the planning board, because you're going to have to go through, obviously, a learning curve.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you
Absolutely.
haven't been exposed before to this extensively. Unfortunately, because of the way government is structured in Massachusetts, the local services are delivered by cities and towns. We have 351 cities and towns. So what I like to say to people is we have 351 little kingdoms all doing the same thing. You wouldn't have, and this is just my opinion, you wouldn't have a lot of these local problems to the extent that you have them if we did things more on a regional level. And you also would save money, okay? Because you wouldn't need 351 police departments and
Okay, I see what you're saying.
232 school districts and so on. You know, you would save some money there. But I think that, you know, because of the way we're structured, you know, things tend to get a locality, and it's a tough it's tough to deal with some of these issues just
Right.
on a local level because you don't have the resources.
Right.
We're limited, you know, as to the amount of income that the town can bring in and so forth. So
Right.
I think you've given us a good snapshot of how you would view these things. So let's follow up on that a little bit. As they talked about last night in the debate, they said the planning board really has 2 functions. One is regulatory, okay, to make sure that all the rules are followed. Developer comes in and, you know, you know, person buys a piece of land.
Right.
They do have rights,
Right.
so that those have to be protected and so on and so forth. But they have to be balanced with, you know, the interests that you've articulated here, okay,
Right.
obviously. So that's the regulatory part of it. Now the planning part of it. How do you see that? And what I'm talking about is in terms of a planning board looking out over the next 5 years, 10 years, and so forth, trying
Right.
to anticipate and make sure, as you said, that if we're going to do anything, if there's going to be any kind of development, that it is consistent with what the character of the town has been and with what the residents want. And I'll just let you talk a little bit about your viewpoint on how you would address that aspect of the job.
Right, well, first off, I would not have a plan to develop more industry or commercial property until we get all the buildings on 129 filled first. We need to look for businesses or candidates to fill those spots first. Once we get all of those filled, and then if we need more space, then we can talk about it. But right now, there's plenty of space right there that businesses can use. We just had, like the press, they just went in there.
The Press Cafe.
Yeah, and they seem to be doing a great job. They seem.
Have you been there?
No, but I plan on going.
You should try it.
Yes.
My wife and I stopped by 2 weekends ago. We were coming back from Boston on a Sunday night, and it was time for dinner, and we happened to be going in that direction, and she said, well, why don't we just stop in and check it out? It's new, and very impressive. A little plug for the Press Cafe, but they have a very, very extensive menu. If you can't find something on that menu that you don't like, then
Yeah, me and my husband, we were driving by and we were like, hey, what's that? And I'm like,
You'll like it.
it's a new food place. He's like, we got to try that. I'm like, yeah.
And that was an initiative. It took the town quite a bit of time to get them in because the zoning had to be changed in that area
Right,
to
right.
allow for a drive-up.
Right.
Which, incredibly, if you go into the town of Westford, they
No-
don't have
no
it.
drive-throughs.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and I go down Littleton Road and I see the McDonald's, and I'm saying, I wonder how much more business they would do. And really, would it impact the traffic much? No, it wouldn't.
No,
Okay,
no.
because those people are driving by anyway.
Right.
So, but that was quite a battle on the floor of town meeting when that zoning article was proposed. There were a lot of people who were very much opposed to the drive-in and restaurant.
And it doesn't
windows and
seem
so
to be affecting anything there.
No. A lot of times the things that people are afraid of don't come to pass. And one of the things that I've noticed over the years is every time I don't care what the development is, if you talk about populating some area that really wasn't popular, the first thing everybody says, oh, the traffic's
The traffic, yeah.
and they said that about the housing in the center of town, Grist Mill. And my only thought was, well, you know what? That's probably true if everybody went out and got in their car at 8 o'clock in the morning at the same time and drove out at the same time. Okay, yeah, you would see that spike. But that's not really what happens. And what we've seen with the Grist Mill area is really, it hasn't really been impacted that much by the traffic.
Right.
Because people don't come and go all at once.
Right.
You know. So, but that's not to say that we shouldn't be concerned about things like that.
Right.
You know, those things have to be examined and looked into for every type of building project that you want to.
Right. Well, the center has historical
Right.
things, so we
Right.
kind of have to be careful with the center. We got to, preserve that historical part of it.
Well, the big thing in the center that people seem to be concerned about is the parking.
Yes.
There-
Yes.
Because there is parking, but it's not immediately obvious when you drive into the center of town.
Right.
You have to kind of know where you can park. So people coming from outside of town looking for a place to park might be a little bit confused.
Yes.
You know, as to where they can go. So
Yes.
I'm not sure. I don't know how you address that because that's
A
that's
sign, parking.
yeah, pretty much. But it's kind of tough. I mean, it's not immediately obvious that there's a municipal parking
No,
lot
there
over
isn't.
here,
There
that kind of
isn't.
thing. So.
You wouldn't know, and if you weren't from the town, you wouldn't know.
So we just went through a situation, we talked about it for a minute there, was the River Neck Road Distribution Center. And we had a situation where the zoning has been changed, the most recent town meeting. There were 3 zoning articles that addressed the zoning for these large-scale distribution centers, okay? And the 3 warrant articles were brought forth by a citizen. Now, if you were on the planning board, do you feel that that's something that the planning board should have done proactively to address zoning concerns? Or should it be that we wait for a citizen to come up in town meeting and propose zoning changes?
No, I think the planning board should have been proactive on that. I mean, they should have foreseen what was going to happen. I mean, a distribution center brings tractor-trailer trucks. Trucks bring noise. Noise. And trucks, distribution centers run 24/7. So that's trucks going through your neighborhood from all hours of the morning, all hours of the night. And you've got single-family homes there, people trying to live their lives, people that live their whole lives there, that have invested their money, invested their time, invested their lives into these homes that they love, and they've lived there. Some of them have lived there their whole life, and now you're putting those houses in jeopardy. It's just, it didn't make any sense.
It was a drastic change from what was there. You had Mercury Computer, which is basically office space.
Exactly, no problem. Just
Right.
there and make components, I mean,
Right.
no trucks coming and going, you know.
Exactly, exactly. And it was a very radical change that was
Yes,
proposed for that area.
absolutely, yes.
And Chris LaValle is the one, he's a town meeting rep, he brought forth the 3 warrant articles. And I'm not a town meeting rep now, I was for 26 years, that was enough. And I don't ever remember a time when a citizen was able to get 3 warrant articles passed in a single town meeting. Usually citizen petition articles they fail. Usually
Right.
they don't succeed. And this was 3 that he got through with actually quite substantial margins. So to me, that sort of validated, I think the town meeting, you've got 165 members. The town meeting is a good reflection of the sentiment of the town.
Right.
Okay, and I was actually quite surprised that the margin was as big as it was. I mean, any zoning changes requires a 2/3 vote anyway, so you've already got a required big margin.
Right.
But it was actually it was substantially in excess of 2/3. You know, so you walked away from that town meeting thinking, you know, this is something that the residents, as reflected by the town meeting vote, feel very strongly about.
Right.
You know. So I think your advocacy for those things is pretty solidly based. I think there are a lot of people that will back you in your thought process here.
Yeah.
So, do you see? We've got about 3 minutes left. Time goes really quickly.
Wow, I
Okay.
guess, yes.
Do you see anything that is immediately before the town that you think needs to be addressed?
Well, I still don't know everything that is before the time. I'm still looking around, seeing things happening, going, okay, what is that? I mean, you know, I have to dig in and start reading and pulling all the permits that are being pulled and looking at them and seeing what's going on. Just like I didn't realize what was going on in Acton Road, like right there by the center there. I'm still trying to figure out what all that is about. That kind of scares me a little bit because it's so close to the center, you know, but it's already going through, so
Right.
there's much I can do about that.
That's a project that's a done deal.
Right,
Okay, so,
exactly.
but again, that one started out as a much larger project, and because of the negotiations, for lack of a better word, with the planning board, that project was, house a residential project, was significantly scaled back. So it's
Right.
going to be quite a bit smaller than what had been originally proposed. So hopefully that will.
Just hopefully it just fits
come
in
out,
with the decor. I mean, I hope it's just not an eyesore, you know? Just don't be an eyesore.
No, you want your town center to look attractive.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
I think the.
And our town, I mean, our town center is very colonial type style looking. You know what I mean? It's old looking.
Older buildings, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you fit something like that into it? I'm kind of nervous about it.
Well, we'll see, and again, you seem to understand that if you are elected to the planning board, there is, I can tell you, it's a lot of homework.
Oh, yes, I can see that.
A lot of
I
reading.
can see that.
A lot of homework, and there's a big learning curve, and we've had folks on the board for many years, and they'll tell you that, you know, even given the length of their service, they still find themselves learning.
Oh, I'm sure,
So
I'm sure.
it's a constant
Yes,
learning process.
Absolutely, absolutely. I could tell by just, like, when I started pulling things, like, you know, like I said, okay, let's see what this master plan is. And I'm looking at all the pages, I'm
Your-
like, oh my
Your
God.
energy level suggests to me that you're probably up to that, okay,
Yeah.
so that you'll be able to do it. So Doreen, we've got about 35 seconds. I want you to look into that camera right there.
Okay.
And I want you to, in 30 seconds, ask for the vote.
Okay. If you want someone who will fight for the town of Chelmsford to remain Chelmsford, I'm the candidate for you. I promise to do my due diligence to protect Chelmsford from overdeveloping. I will always strive to preserve the quaint small town feel of Chelmsford. I will not overburden our town. And I'm asking that you please give me one of your 2 votes on April 4th. But most of all, please get out and vote on April 4th. Thank you.
Very good, and that's a wrap, and thank you very much.
Thank you.